We are live, believe it or not. We
Oh,
just
wow.
totally went live with no opening because we're on a new service now, and this is how we do it. So,
That's how we do it.
anyways, yeah. So today we're talking about UFOs, UAPs, space men, space women, space things, all kinds
I'm
of
about meeting UFO space women. I'm about meeting UFO space
space men
guys.
guys. Yeah, yeah, me too. You know, Ronnie the limo driver from Howard Stern gets abducted. That would be
Ronnie the UAP guy, right? Hey, I like the PA. No, Ronnie, it's not.
yeah.
All
But
right.
yeah, so anyways, I pulled up a couple of things just for us to talk about tonight, and I thought it might be a little bit fun to talk about this abduction story that I found on Reddit that I looked up on the Wikipedia machine. And let me
Wish
pull
we
that
would
up
have it.
right here. Yeah,
Let's see.
I never heard of it, but I just thought it was kind of fun. Uh, Antonio, I guess Via Boas. He died in 1991. He was born in 1934. He was a Brazilian farmer who becomes a lawyer later on, who claimed to have been. So I find that part like kind of interesting. Not saying that I don't believe people who've been abducted or anything like that, or I do believe them. I have no idea. I'm just like, hey, I'll hear what you got going on. Try to see what's up. That's my take. But
I'm not being racist or mean. Okay.
okay,
If you say that, I guess you are. But in my mind, I'm like, there is a version of this premise set to the Beverly Hillbillies opening. This is a story about man. Antonio was a Brazilian farmer. Then he got his law degree. Then he got abducted and he saw UAPs. All right, all
Mhm.
right. I'm into this show. I'm on board. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, I mean, as a kid, like I grew up really into UFOs. I was super like all about it. And then, like I said before, I watched that movie. What was it? It's called Intruders, and it starts off really scary, and then it gets really just kind of like hippity dippity by the end of it. But that's just me talking about it as a piece of fiction, whether it was true or not. But man, it made me scared of being abducted. I was like, oh, I don't want to be abducted. I was down
You know
for
what
the
got
close
me?
encounters of the third kind. I
Yeah,
would have went
so
on the ship, but don't abduct me. Just
I
ask me.
I was shown Close Encounters on Beta Max when I was a kid. And the
Mhm.
only memory I have of it is when the little kid's opening up the doors and the UFOs are woo, and the mom shutting the door and shit. And I
Yeah.
was just like, what? And she runs out there. And I thought that was a memory when I was a kid for the longest time until I didn't see the movie again until high school for whatever reason. It wasn't on TV a lot, like on HBO, Close Encounters. I'm not saying it wasn't on TV, but it wasn't like a heavily promoted thing. Close Encounters coming to Cinemax.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't. So I didn't see it again until high school, and I was like, oh, it is fucking. I saw all this. But it's stuck in my head, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I only have two true real memories of throwing a fucking fit. Like as a kid, where I'm like throwing a fit because and it was both times where the first time was when Star Wars was on and it was scrambled. Select TV, you messed up and that's why you're out of business. And then the second time was Close Encounters was supposed to come on at 8 p.m. Told my dad, I was like, Dad, we got to be home. Close Encounters is on at 8 p.m. I want to watch the whole thing. And he was like, yeah. And then he for some reason, the TV antenna wasn't working. And
That
I'm
was
like,
the
Dad,
Saturday night movie, right?
probably. I was able to stay up till
Yeah, I think that
10.
was
So,
Saturday night movie, and that's probably what my uncle had. I don't know how he got it on beta though.
hmm,
That's weird. I don't know.
yeah,
Hey, I know we watched on tape, and he had a Betamax, he didn't have VHS. He was like, VHS sucks, and then he got that way wrong.
yeah.
So, yeah.
But once again, the movie starts working right as the little boy is in his room and all his toys are coming to life. And I'm about
Oh
that kid's
yeah.
age at this time, so it was pretty scary to me, as
Was
a
there
as
a
a child.
monkey with the symbols in that one?
That might be Poltergeist. Was that Poltergeist?
I know it's Poltergeist, but there's a lot of crossover with those fucking
Yeah,
toys in some of these
I
films.
remember
They
the
reappear.
fire truck and the little trucks coming to
Fire
life,
truck.
and Yeah, there was like a robot that was like one of those toy robots that we had that were real popular at the time. Which, by the way, there was this weird thing about those where you could put oil on top of their head and they would smoke. Weirdest feature ever. You could just put like this like oil.
They had those in trains at the time too. You can get these
Oh, is
toy
that right?
trains, like,
Yeah,
and
I
you
was
would put
cool. I had
oil in there, and it would
robots.
create the little. That was the year my dad got me wooden toys. I was hoping for Transformers, the city toy,
Are
right?
you
And
are
my
you
dad got me
Amish?
wooden toys with my name on it, Robert. I was like, my mom had just abandoned me the Christmas before. Like, I was
Okay.
like, my dad. I had my talk with my dad. I was like, maybe instead of buying things together after Christmas, we could go to the toy store and pick something out together. Right? And he was like, "You're willing to wait till after Christmas?" I'm like, "Yeah, there'll be deals. It'll be cheaper. You don't have to get anything, He's like, "You're fine with that?" I'm like, "I would love that." He's like, "Okay, can we do it this year?" No, next year. I had to wait a whole year, but
Dad, there's this thing called cash. Have you considered it? Just give me the cash and we will take it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So anyways though, I feel like there is and always has been so much stigma around the UFO phenomenon and around abductions specifically. I feel like even um abductions are probably even more so because people see things in the sky. I think most of us probably have, but most of us don't think we've been abducted or haven't met most of us haven't met someone who's been abducted or believes that they have been. So when I hear about a guy who's been abducted and then later on becomes a lawyer, you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting because you just want to or assume they're going to be put into that they're a quack. You know what I mean? And so this guy, I guess you could be a quacky lawyer too. But
Although after 2020, we've seen how crazy the lawyers can get.
true. True.
Let's be honest.
True. Yeah. Anyways, though, yeah, so through similar stories had circulated for years beforehand, Boas claims were among the first alien abduction stories to receive wide attention. Some skeptics today consider the abduction story to be little more than a hoax, although Boas nonetheless reportedly stuck to his account throughout his life. And there's a couple of things about the story that like I just don't really understand, like how do you verify that? But here's the story. At the time of his alleged abduction, Antonio was a 23-year-old Brazilian farmer who was working at night to avoid the hot temperatures of the day. On October 16, 1957, he was plowing fields near Sao Francisco de Salas when he saw what he described as a red star in the night sky. According to his story, the star approached his position, growing in size until it became recognizable as a roughly circular or an egg-shaped aerial craft with a red light, yeah, right, at its front and a rotating cupola on top. The craft began descending to land in the field, extending 3 legs as it did so. I always love that, by the way. Those like little,
just like Yoda's ship,
yeah,
right? On Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. At that point,
yeah, that's totally intentional, Jason. You didn't pick up on it because you're an idiot.
I think George Lucas is one.
Wow, that's Lord Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas, man.
Yeah, he should know better.
But Antonio does what you would think somebody would do. He decided to fucking run. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know what
honestly, yeah. My credibility for the story went up. Like, it's the one part of the Travis Walton thing. I'm like, you telling me he didn't just fucking run? I know you said you'd go into the ship, Jason. I get the fuck out of there, dude.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I think I would probably be one of those people who ends up in Kit Green's office with my nipples falling off from radiation poisoning and stuff. And he's like, well, you definitely got radiation poisoning. But okay, anyways, according to Boas, he first attempted to leave the scene on his tractor. Well, did you buy that part? Because I got to be honest, I was scared.
There's a Mike Myers version of this where he unfortunately plays a Brazilian man, and like Love Guru, it really goes wrong. Like, but the tractor scene is gold.
Imagine the UFO though. They're just like, look at this guy trying to bone out in a tractor. What are these people?
I imagine it's the two head aliens from the Zim Armada, right? The Zirkin Armada, where they're just like, "What's he doing?" It's the the guy from Kids in the Hall, right?
Yeah.
Is that a tractor? Is he trying to plow his way out?
These are the Daves I know. These are the Daves I know. But when its lights and engine died after traveling only a short distance, he decided
Yeah.
to continue on foot. So they close encountered him, which was one of the things about Close Encounters that growing up, before I could read and started reading about UFO encounters and stuff, I just assumed like that was a very Hollywood thing. Like, oh, you can't just turn off somebody's car. But I guess but that happens in Close Encounters, and it happens in most UFO stories, it seems. So it definitely seems like it's part of the phenomenon, whether real or psychological, for that matter.
And it definitely happens in Teslas randomly, usually when high speeds.
The UFO abductors have to be like, oh, this auto driving stuff is great. We just drive them right up on the ship, and all right.
I never thought about that.
Oh, it's so much easier.
Smart, Elon. Yeah, Elon Musk is a lizard person now.
Oh,
I
he
believe
definitely is a lizard man.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, he was seized by a 1.5 meter, 5 foot tall humanoid who was wearing gray coveralls and a helmet. Its eyes were small and blue, and instead of speech, it made noises like barks or yelps. So right now, I'm kind of getting some vibes from the chick from the opening of Coming to America, where she stands on 1 foot and barks. Kind of getting that vibe from her, and I've always kind of
This
been
alien's definitely wife material, my friend.
Yeah, I don't know what that guy from Coming to America's real problem was the whole time.
She's your abduction queen. She's your UAP on the scene.
Dude, you got some range. I didn't know that about you.
I know. Well, I haven't fully matured yet.
Okay.
Only one testicle's dropped. The other one's holding out to the last second.
Yeah, we all had plastic toys, and that took a lot from us, I think, and you with your wooden toys. So anyways, 3 similar beings then joined the first in subduing Boaz, and they dragged him inside their craft. Once inside the craft, Boaz said he was stripped of his clothes and covered from head to toe with a strange gel. Now, right now, I can't remember if the Travis Walton gel stuff, like the fluid, the lube stuff, if that's just from the movie or if that really happened. But anyways, pretty interesting. He was then led into a large semicircular room through a doorway that had strange red symbols written over it. Boas claimed that he was able to memorize these symbols and later reproduce them for investigators. In this room, the beings took samples of Boas' blood from his chin. And I'm assuming his name is said Boas. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. After this, he was taken to a third room and left alone for around half an hour. During this time,
there's a whole form of porn waiting to happen about this, where they make you wait. Then they get to the porn, abduction porn.
No, during this time, some kind of gas was pumped into the room, and this made Boas become violently ill. So it's like, yeah, I almost think that they're maybe decontaminating him. They're maybe getting they don't want a War of the Worlds kind of situation where they hook up and then they're violently ill and dying themselves. So it sounds like they were disinfecting him in some way. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe it was like an aphrodisiac, Maybe they're like, this is like this is Spanish fly shellfish from our world. We hope you enjoy it.
Saturn fly, my friend.
Saturn fly.
Get it straight.
Yeah. Shortly after this, Boas claimed that he was joined in the room by another humanoid. This one, however, was female, very attractive and naked. She was the same height as the other beings he had encountered, with small, pointed chin and large, blue cat-like eyes. The hair on her head was long and white, somewhat like platinum blonde, but her underarm and pubic hair were bright red. Yeah, that's a party right there.
I'm telling you right now. Now, Ray should have. This is sequel material. Right here.
And if he's having my experiences at all, if she has the underarm hair, she's probably going to try to put some crystals on you or something too in a second. But you know.
Suddenly, Bose found himself in Greenwich Village.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Boas said he was strongly attracted to the woman, and
Yeah.
the two had sexual intercourse.
Okay.
Now here's the thing, though. I mean, you could have a little bit of anxiety at this point because I mean, you are literally representing mankind at this point. If you blow this, if you don't perform, you are making
Wait.
all of us look bad. You're making all of us look bad, and so
I'm gonna assume the gas put some visions, some space lizards in his head at this
mm,
point. Like,
maybe I don't know, man. I like I said, I think I think that's like their mating ritual, you know, lube you up and gas you. All right, Boas said he was strongly attracted to the woman. During the act, Boas noted that the female did not kiss him, but instead nipped him on the chin.
what
That's
does
weird.
nipped him on the chin mean?
I think she's like biting his chin, like kind of like how like maybe like a dog might kind of like bite you, but not like in a violent way, you know? Kind of like just like nipping at your chin, it's like kind of biting at you. And he's like, all right. He's like, that's cool, you know. But
This is
anyway,
something Lebowski would find himself in. I gotta be honest, like
yeah,
Lebowski should have been abducted, right? Like there's a sequel where he got abducted and all this shit happens. Like nothing, no difference, no artistic license, just like this.
maybe this is like the Brazilian Lebowski right here, you know.
Yeah. Lebowski.
Lebowski. uh, when it was all over, the female smiled at Lebowski, rubbing her belly and gesturing upwards. She's like, "Thanks for the baby. I'm going back to space."
This happened in Lebowski. Remember the redhead,
Yeah.
right? He's
So
strong and thorough.
Lebowski took this to mean that she was going to raise their child in space. The females seemed relieved that their task was over, and Lebowski himself said that he felt angered by the situation because he felt as though he had been little more than a good stallion for the humanoids.
The
Yeah.
dude will not abide.
Yeah.
This aggression will not stand.
I mean, I mean, this is pretty much what happened to me on Earth, so I understand how he feels. Anyways, Boas said that he was then given back his clothing, and taken on a tour of the ship by the humanoid. So, like, hey, you know what, man? Thanks, you know, for doing that. Thanks for banging our weird sister. Would you like to see the ship? And he was like, yeah, of course.
This is where it gets strangely familiar for me, though.
Uh huh.
The whole like finish this whole paragraph.
Okay.
I'll elaborate after.
During this tour, he said that he attempted to take a clock-like device as proof of his encounter, but was caught by the humanoids and prevented from doing so. He was then escorted off the ship and watched as it took off, glowing brightly. When Boas returned home, or Lebowski returned home, he discovered that 4 hours had passed.
That's about the amount of time that passed when I was at that farmhouse
Mm-hmm.
with them kids. It's about
You
4
want to,
hours.
yeah, briefly explain that because if somebody didn't see that when it's been a long time, they might not know.
So this is 1986, right?
Yeah.
I lived in National City on Sweetwater Road with my mom, her boyfriend, and his teenage daughter and son. His teenage daughter, the street is a hill. At the top is a park. At the bottom is Plaza Bonita Mall. At the top of that park, I went up with his daughter and her boyfriend to go to play. They went there to make out because they're teenagers, right?
Yeah.
I'm obviously not into watching them make out. The park had this like ladder, and I tried to go in there, but people peed in there, smell like fucking urine. I'm like, I'm not going on any of this. So I started looking elsewhere, and there
Talk
was a
about
fence.
Sweetwater.
There was a hole in the fence. I go down the hole in the fence down to this area, and there's this farmhouse that's being worked on by all these kids. Like they're fixing it and painting it up. And like I'm like, what is this? And they were like, oh, this is our home and stuff. Check this out. And they gave me a tour throughout this farmhouse. And then at the very end, they said, hey, would you like to stay with us? And I got real weirded out by it. I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, I gotta get back. And they're like, all right, you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I gotta get back. So I go back up the hill, I go out, and Bianca was her name, she's gone. So
Okay.
I just head back down the street to the house, and she comes running up the street. Where the hell were you? And I'm like, I was just, like it felt like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But I noticed the sun was already setting. We left like in the afternoon, like around 1 or so, 1:30, and its sun's already going down. It's like closer to 5. It's like 4:35, somewhere around there. And she was freaked out because she thought I'd been abducted, because this is the age of abduction. And my mom was way into being freaked out by me being abducted, Adam Walsh and shit, right?
Yeah.
So it stuck in my head for the longest time. I was not allowed out of anyone's sight for like a month or two. Some time passes. I want to say like a couple months, but I wanted to go back and check out that farmhouse with them kids. So when they finally stopped paying attention to me, I went up the street, went back down to the farmhouse. That farmhouse was there, but it was, bro, it was like 100 years old. I mean, like weathered down to no room had ever been painted. It was just filled with trash and cobwebs. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have the memory, even now when I think of it, I don't have the memory of the dirty. I have the memory of they were using white paint. Like it was very white.
Yeah.
Like, and then the rollers in the rooms, and this will be your room and you can stay with us. And I'm like, nah, I mean, like they were showing me my room, and I was really freaked out, and I just ran back home. But for years, even after my mom left me, I used to think like I should have gone. Like it really stuck with me that I missed out on something, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It was, well, it
that's
was
it.
either
It's
you were
weird.
going to be murdered and turned into a ghost and have to stay there forever, or it was actually an alien spaceship and they were like, "Hey, come with the space kids, and you're gonna have a lot of space
It's
adventures." And
it's up the street from
yeah,
a mall though, Jason. So if I was a ghost, I could just ghost way down to the mall. Yeah. So I was fine with that.
that's cool. Sam, haunt the old Sam Goody, maybe. Mark
But
Hamilton's
the 4 hours is interesting. I don't know why.
Mark Hamilton's kid doesn't believe in ET. ET is real. Just so you know, ET is real. I gotta say, not to be a whole bummer. I know a lot of people like to watch shows and kind of get away from reality to some extent, at least geopolitical reality. But I keep hearing all the time about how UFOs. It's Russian. It's the Russians. If it's not the Chinese, it's the Russians. Well, I don't. I think now's the time to start using those UFOs if you got them, Russia. And they don't seem to
Told you
be.
they were Russian.
They don't seem to be using them. They don't seem to have them.
No.
So yeah, I mean, me and I've never had like a real like where I'm like, hey, there's like an alien kind of thing, but now I look at the sky so much I started to find stuff. That's what's kind of weird. Is it reminds me of the old George Lucas thing, if you're looking for trouble you're going to find it. That was a Clone Wars episode, but I don't know if it's trouble or not. But if you're looking for stuff, you do find it. It is fascinating on that front. But couple of things about this. So, following the alleged event, Bo is claimed to have suffered from nausea and weakness, as well as headaches and lesions on the skin, which appeared without any kind of light bruising. Eventually, he contacted journalist Jose Martins, who had placed an ad in a newspaper looking for people who had experiences with UFOs. Upon hearing Bo's story, Martins contacted Dr. Olavo Fontes of
Doc Martin. Oh no,
the National School of
it's not a
Medicine
doctor. Sorry.
of Brazil. Fontes was also in contact with the American UFO Research Group, APRO. Fontes examined the farmer and concluded that he had been exposed at a large dose of radiation from some source and was now suffering from mild radiation sickness. So here is the thing about this part of the story is I have heard mixed things on the whole radiation sickness stuff. I heard it could be really hard to actually like diagnose somebody as having it. And don't want to come off as being like ethnocentric and deciding they don't have the tools in Brazil at this time to go figure it out. But we don't really know what kind of
The
the
only time I've
guy.
seen it in
Yeah.
real life was the guy who was what was the guy who was the leader of the Orange Party back in the mid 2000s that
Okay.
Putin like gave like they
Yes.
hit him with nuclear radiated materials, and if you look at his face, he's all pitted and Like, poor fucking dudes. You know what I mean? Looks worse than Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
No. No. And once again, I'm not denying that it exists. It's just one of those things that's really hard to say. That's what this
doesn't seem
person
to go
has.
away though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And that
Like
was the
that's
other thing is when you hear accounts about this, they'll be like, "Oh, and then he died from it." So they're gonna no, he lived like 37 years longer, became a lawyer, and had a pretty sounds like a pretty good
chain
life.
smoked right till the end.
Yeah. So, but among Boaz's symptoms were pains throughout the body, nausea, headaches, loss of appetite, ceaselessly burning sensation in the eyes. How do you say it's cutaneous lesions
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at the slightest of light, bruising,
I have that. I do.
which which went on appearing for months, looking like small reddish nodules. It goes on, and it's like okay,
Mm.
so it sounds like it for sure, but if we're gonna
Or
look at this,
herpes.
yeah, right. That was the time when the old clap would get you. Um, but yeah,
Don't
no,
want the shot in my penis. Don't do it.
yeah,
Like, gotta get it, bud.
it definitely. It's like I definitely go like probably something really fascinating did happen here. But if you want to just look at it completely like objectively, you're like, well, did it though? Is that because a lot of the evidence for the story hinges on this one thing, and I don't know if that's really, but once again, with when it comes to quote the phenomenon, it's nothing's ever good. Nothing's ever. It's
When
always
they
crazy.
dumped him off, did he
Yeah,
just leave his tractor there? Did he have to get a friend to come back with some gas the next day? Like, I want to know the follow up to
yeah.
the tractor and what friend. Because I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you're in the middle of nowhere. I imagine carrying fuel back kind of a pain, especially if he's sore. He had to have help, right?
Well, but one thing
Hmm.
I've always wondered when, like, if we just believe everything, we take everything as being true.
I
Um,
do.
when a UFO or a UAP turns off your Lincoln Continental in 1979, and then
78 is the one I owned, actually.
my grandparents owned the 79. Uh, that's the one I used to stand up in right in the front seat because that's what we did back then. Um,
Yep.
but when the UFO leaves, or this flying saucer leaves or whatever, does it just turn back on and start working? Or is it stalled out? Like what state, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like the kind of stuff that I wonder about. And like I've always been under sort of like this impression, like for instance, when time is a factor, we usually think that it's because of time being relative. When you enter into a new gravitational field, then you are technically going to experience time differently at a different rate in a different way. And in this kind of story, I'm like, was he boning that alien for 4 hours, or is the 4 hours just the difference
Oh,
in
yeah.
time? And it was really
We all like to think we can last all night, but the
right. I
reality
know.
is 15 minutes later, it's done.
Yeah, I
Remember, what was that movie with with Jamie Foxx and
Jamie Lee Fox.
uh,
That Jamie Lee Curtis and
no,
Jamie Fox put
no,
together.
and Tommy Davidson with
Mhm,
where they're with those two girls, right? And he's like,
mhm.
I'm gonna be with you all. I'm gonna be with you all night, and like it's like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Tommy Davidson comes in a giant condom. Booty call. Was it booty call? I think it was booty call. Something
Booty
like
call.
that. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
great. It's a great movie.
This planet is full of two pump chumps. Let's go. They fly away at the end. But so one reason why the Boa story gained credibility was the prejudiced assumption that any farmer in the Brazilian interior had to be an illiterate peasant who could make this up. As Eddie Bullard pointed out to me, the fact
Xenophobic.
that the Via Boya, is that Via Boa's family possessed a tractor put them well above the peasant class. We know that ABB was a determinable, upward mobile young man studying a correspondence course and eventually becoming a lawyer, at which the ufologist who was considered him too much of the rural simpleton to. So basically, they're going
No.
and saying that
Hold
if they were considering him a rural simpleton, therefore He couldn't have, but we know he became a lawyer, so we know that isn't true. We know he has a tractor, so we know that isn't true. And that's just like once again an ethnocentric sort of way of looking at him. Oh, he cannot possess the imagination that some beings from the sky. He couldn't have ever heard of a UFO or seen a UFO story or movie or a book or what. That's ridiculous.
Or Occam's razor.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a one-night affair with someone that he gave his tractor to in a drunken stupor and had to explain to his wife why he didn't have a tractor anymore.
I don't
and
think
herpes.
I don't think they took the tractor. No, if the UFO took the tractor,
well, he had to go back and get it when he woke up and he was out of it. He probably went back and got his tractor, and he was like, "It was an alien. I left it out in the field. I'll go get it."
That would be fun though, wouldn't it? Like if we could get into a UFO, like to start like taking people's tractors, like swapping them, putting one tractor here, one tractor there. Like that's whenever I hear about like Skinwalker
What did you get
Ranch.
this time? This time I got a tractor. Huh. I got Nazi memorabilia. Fucking Argentinians, dude.
Oh,
you know
there was
what I mean?
like there was like one of them. I think it was at Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, it's Skinwalker Ranch. The guy has one of I think one of those devices for like putting a hole in the ground to like put a fence post or something like that. Like one of the, but I think it might have been like electric in this instance, but I'm not positive. But he has like a fence post maker, and so he's like doing that, and all of a sudden he turns around and the fence post maker's gone. They can't find it. And then like 2 days later, he's like, looks up and it's up in the tree, like way up in the tree, like something put it up there. And I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of UFO guy I'd be too. Like really like Skinwalker
Or God
Ranch.
just reached down with his big God hand and was like, you'll think it's UFOs. It was me, God.
Oh, I did it again. But yeah.
Oops.
Oops,
Me and Brittany.
I did it again. Brittany is God. Even God thinks Brittany's a god. But yeah. Oh, this one right here. I don't want to get too far into this one, but I'm going to share this one. Just
Fair
because
enough.
it's kind of a mind fuck to me, and maybe if I watched the whole 2-hour show, I would get it, but I'm not going to. I just can't. And if
I'll tell you, everybody, false flag alien attacks coming as soon as we check out Manscaped.
Yes,
kind of Manscaped thing here every time. If you meet a white-haired alien with giant pubes, get her some Manscaped.
Okay, here we go. Alien false flags. Alien false flags.
One of the things that I see happening throughout 2022 is going to be they're going to make these Tic Tacs. And these Tic Tacs come in many different shapes and sizes. They are sometimes cylinders. They are sometimes motherships. They are in all different types, shapes, and sizes.
M&Ms.
But what we're going to be seeing is these
Snickers,
Tic Tacs,
Spree.
also called UAPs. That's the new terminology as well. We're going to be seeing them actually going and engaging civilian ships and vessels in a hostile, aggressive manner. They may not be killing people yet, but they will be doing things to disable ships, disable vessels, have real physical confrontation, because at this point they need to ratchet up the fear more than what it's been. It can't just be this, the Tic Tacs appeared.
Putin said, hold my beer.
They're going to need to kick that up a level.
Yeah.
No one's afraid of UFOs, man. No one's afraid of UFOs.
No, but when I saw that, I was just like, when you say like are you trying to say that it, like Russia's gonna pretend to be a UAP, and then it's not a UAP, it's really the Russians, and then they're gonna do something like a terrorist style attack, blame it on the UFO? Because how do you pretend to be a Tic Tac? Like how do you, like, that's the whole thing. That's
Operation whatchamacallit.
Yeah, and then
where I dress up like a man-sized Snickers bar and infiltrate the military. You know?
No, and then he's like UAP. That's the new term. That isn't new terminology for the government at all.
It's not even. It's like 40-year-old terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Like they conjure that. Like what was it? Nick Pope was saying like that dates way back to the 70s or 80s, somewhere like after Project Blue Book. Like we just picked up on it in recent time, but they've been using it forever. Like,
remember that band Smoking Popes? I wonder if Nick Pope likes that band.
I want to get this guy's predictions on Disney Plus Day to see how accurate he really is. You know?
Yeah, I'm like so because you could read what he said two ways just based off of the clip. We can't play the whole show, obviously. So it's like on the clip, like, so you're either saying that humans are going to pretend to be Tic Tacs or mother, but then the way he's saying it, it sounds like he's actually saying UFOs are going to do false flag attacks. I'm like, what does that mean? The lizard people are trying to frame the Pleiadians here? Like what does that even mean? Like, how does that even work?
They don't want to create a conflict. They just want to get everyone scared. You know, like I'm scared of myself at night when I'm alone and I cry.
Or is this like, it was just like a Tom DeLonge thing where they're saying like, oh, they feed off of the human emotion. And therefore,
what's his insider? Where's his info coming from? Like, you have sources for Star Wars news. Mm-hmm. Where is his UFO sources? Like, who's calling out? Hey, look, I don't want you to break embargo because my alien overlords here will fuck me, kick on my ass. So you need to be very
yeah.
Like, dude, if we could take the scoop game and conjure up a story where some guy is getting info from an alien, you know, like inside alien whistleblower, you know, but he has to be very vague because he doesn't want to lose his job too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know? And I'm afraid that if I break the embargo, they're gonna abduct and probe me for hours or minutes, but it's gonna feel like hours, and I'm not gonna know how long they did that.
Are you familiar with Gary McKinnon?
100%.
Yeah, I love this guy. I think his hacker name or whatever we want to call it was even like a Star Wars one. I think his name was like Solo, like a Han Solo name or something like that. And he's basically this young man in 2002 probably. Yep. And he hacks NASA to look for the UFO stuff to try to get us the answer. And he did an AMA on Reddit and some pretty fascinating stuff in it. He was arrested in March 2002 for hacking into various .gov networks in America, looking for evidence of UFOs and free energy. He says it wasn't a clever
obviously
hack.
Listening to Coast to Coast.
I think he talks about that the Disclosure Project run by Stephen Greer is what I think inspired.
I heard this on Coast to Coast in 2002.
Yeah. So. Oh, I would not. I bet he's a Coast to Coast listener. I bet he is for sure.
But did he have a web subscription, or did he have to listen to it live and get all the fucking weird ass commercials? That's the question I want to know. I wonder.
So, in my effort to find solid proof that the government military knew about these craft, I followed information found in a book by the Disclosure Project run by Stephen Greer. In the book, Donna Hare, who was a NASA launch photographic specialist, said that in Building 8 of Johnson Space Center was a lab set aside specifically for airbrushing out UFOs from high-res satellite imagery. And I'm pretty sure that's even kind of been confirmed now that has been a real thing.
That was a few episodes of Coast to Coast I listened to. It's hard because what's his face? I'm brain farting. The dude who claims there's crystal palaces on fucking the moon and shit all the fucking time, dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's always like he's like, I was a reporter for NASA. I'm like, all right, man, shut up. I forget the name right now. But yeah, he was always there. Airbrushed him out, and we get in the real photo. And he would show Art, and Art would look at it and be like, I just see a crater in the moon. You know?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a palace and docking bay 7 and all that shit.
But he basically runs a hack, scans it. He ends up, I found Building 8 by reading the comment sections of PCs via the command console. These fields are used by auditing, and luckily NASA filled them all in, so I knew which PCs were in Building 8. There weren't many machines in Building 8, but the first I looked at had folders called raw, processed,
Richard C. Hoagland,
or raw, and cleaned or filtered. These images averaged about 250 megabytes and would have taken as long as 5 minutes per megabyte on a 56K modem. So having remote control of the PC via a program called Remotely Anywhere, I decided to view it live on the desktop.
This shit you could never do now. Like he was
Yeah.
right before, like he was right at the very. This was before the invasion of Iraq, so he was right before we were like, "Oh, cybersecurity is a fucking real problem," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you could just get yourself a Linksys router, you know what I mean? Some McAfee software and remote PC anywhere. Just go, I'll just get into the. He literally war gamed it, bro. Like he got the big phone modem.
Yeah, he did. He says it was risky because they work odd hours at NASA. The images was coming over very slowly via the Java-based remote anywhere program. So I cut the color to 4-bit, 16 color shades.
By the way, I used Remotely Anywhere. I was using this when I was working at Kinko's going to college because I needed access to my PC at home to get my art files back and forth, you know.
Right.
USB and hard drives were a pain. So this, yeah.
The lowest res was 640 by 40, I think. It may even have been 320 by 420. So the image slowly filled the screen, and I could see the blackness. Superimposed upon was a blue-white planet, and superimposed on that was a tubular form that was metallic white and had domes around its central circumference and its ends. This thing had no rivets or seams, and it looked futuristic, though, of course, with the low res and number of shades, the image detail was lacking. This was my eureka.
They enhanced, like in Blade Runner, enhance, and it's just a dildo. Fucking NASA guys, what are you doing?
They put a dildo on the moon. Anyways, this was my eureka moment.
Look, that right there needs to be the first comic we ever produce. Like that needs, because they all got weird names now at Image, right? They put a dildo on the moon.
Donna's hair lab was still in existence. I was waiting for this image to come down and planning on the fastest way to get all the other images to me. And right when I was making my plans, I saw the mouse cursor move to the bottom right of the screen, right-click the network icon, and choose disconnect. I had been caught and disconnecting, missing my chance to grab even a single image. I never did any intentional damage or accidentally, as far as I know. I'm not a vandal, but I did leave stupid messages about disrupting their sense of security. My family and I then fought my possible extradition to America for 10 years, finally winning the case in 2012. Brief, so he goes on. I know this is an old story and not too widely publicized in America at the time, so I apologize. There's nothing new. And so then he, confirms that it's him and all of that stuff, But super fascinating. And then he tells this story here that I thought was fascinating too. This is his equivalent of a Men in Black story, if you will. Excuse me. So he says, "Let me tell you what happened to me in 2006. The only odd Men in Black, possibly kind of nothing that did happen to me, apart from being followed by the same men for 2 hours one time across England. I lived in a bedsit at the time, being unemployed due to the ongoing case, which is one room in a shared house. I was on the first floor, one story up if you're American. My lady and I had gone to bed on a fold-out sofa. I think we fell asleep after midnight, after hours of penetrate me like you did the Pentagon. I woke up out of a really deep sleep, so I'm thinking it must have been around 2 or 3. I was woken up by a really sharp pain in my left heel, so sharp that I jolted awake and reached out to my foot to see what it was, whereupon I was forced asleep again. It was like going under general anesthetic, uncomfortable and unwilling. So I went from painful shock to insta-sleep. In the morning, the first thing I thought of was the pain in my heel. I looked at my foot. It turned out I'd gone to bed with my socks on, being the sexy super hacker I am, and there were 2 holes in the sock on my heel. I removed the sock and found 2 perfectly round holes in my heel, each around 5 millimeters in diameter, and one with a perfectly circular flap of skin still hanging from it. like someone had done me with a miniature paper hole punch. I can't explain that to this day, and I could only assume it's a chip. I've had tri-filled meters on it. I made a super sensitive magnometer that showed nothing but 2 lumps did grow on the hills in the months following the event, and they have moved around and inside my foot. So yeah, that was pretty wild. But this guy's had a very interesting life, and a couple of the things that he goes on to say. If I could find them really easily, they ask him about Stephen Greer's CE5, and he says he feels that anyone can do it on their own. They don't need to spend a shitload of coin. And then, so my question is, have you ever personally witnessed a UFO or alien? He says, only once. A red glowing red light moved pretty fast from horizon to horizon, moving erratically left to right on its own path. So once again, that's our second red light.
Yeah, well, that's the pubes are so heavy. They reflect the light off Saturn, and so you get this starry image, but it's just they don't shave. That's the problem.
So somebody asked him about the images. In low resolution 4-bit color, were you able to tell if the domes were geodesic or not? And then he goes on to say they seem geodesic. I am more sure it was smooth than that the domes were geodesic. So not really sure what to glean from that.
Well, Richard C. Hoagland would know. Believe me.
So yeah, oh yeah. And then he says, do you recall any details about the ship-to-ship transfers and non-terrestrial officers? Any ship names? And then he goes on to say, no, I remember none of the names. I did look up a few and none were Navy. No, as best as I could tell, the U.S. military government were really embarrassed, and that drove them more than anything because, stoner hacks Pentagon isn't really a good vibe. So he asked him if he thought it was concept art. He's I grabbed a hold of the desk watching the image come down. I don't think it was concept art. It was right where Donna said it would be, and the folders had relevant names. So but he talks about
session.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fucking AMAs, man.
Yeah. He says, somebody asked him if he was scared about the U.S. government coming after him again. He says, no, they have bigger fish to fry. I was a tiny embarrassment that blew up in order to get more cybersecurity funding possible. DOD gets hundreds of thousands of attempted entries in a single year.
But we have an image of this, right? Like a rendering.
Yeah, I sent it to you. I actually don't have it. If you want to pull it up, you can. But it was a rendering that they did where he drew it out, and then somebody did a real high quality version of his drawing.
Let's see, I haven't done this on this.
It's okay. Yeah. And so, anyways, I'm trying to find. Yeah, but he talks about this. They asked him about. Do you believe Stephen Greer's hypothesis about space weapons and von Braun? He says, I believe in evidence and government military. Von Braun.
Werner von Braun.
Okay, yeah. They wrote that. Will use anything to sway the populace. And he says, I believe what Carol Rosen told us about von Braun. And do you know what Carol Rosen said about von Braun? I never looked. I don't know anything about that. That's a big... Oh, here it is. There's a video right here in her own words. I should watch. Well, should we? But basically, it talks about how there are. Basically, goes into stuff about there being shit on the moon and all this wild shit that you're like, okay, but it's interesting that he found it all. But yeah. Von Braun's legacy. Oh, it didn't go to
also mentioned in Explorers.
Oh, okay.
That's what he's talking about. Werner von Braun.
So he also, this stuff right here was pretty interesting. He goes, bottom line, I don't know. All I'm sure of is that they know that they are there and that they are not human. If you read Dolan's 12 documents that prove the government knows about aliens or some such title, it's pretty plain. No one knew where this tech was coming from. And and I read a little bit of it, and it's pretty fascinating stuff. It's pretty fun, you know. And then people are like, Gary, why didn't you just hit the fucking print screen button? He's all, I effing know, man. The times I slapped myself over that, I was so excited and tense and waiting, thinking I'd have the whole image in a few minutes, and then they pulled the plug. So
I keyed it up. Yep, there it is.
okay,
that's it right there.
Yeah, here we go. Oh,
you
got it. You had it. Sorry,
yeah, it was up.
Oh,
that's the rendering of. I mean, it's a Tic Tac, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, this is maybe this is what it looks like when you can see the Tic Tac not on a what do you call it, a FLIR camera. You know,
these geodesic like faceted things definitely sort of remind me of when like Chris Leto and them are looking at like the Turkish photos of the UFO stuff, and it looks weird, you know?
Yeah.
And they're trying to make the shape out. Like, it definitely gives me some of those vibes, you know? Like,
yeah, for sure. No, that's one of the things about whenever I hear all of the various UFO kind of stories, and if you know, some people could be reporting things wrong. Like I've had instances where I've gone into a Star Wars thing and saw a ton of stuff and went home and tried to like write down everything and tried to make notes, because I couldn't make notes at the time, and then just remembered some shit that was just wildly off. And when I got to go back and see it again, I was like, why did I think that was whatever it was, you know? And so
yeah, it's hard to eliminate bias. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really hard. It's why, I mean, like, I used to hang out at a courthouse when I was a kid. My mom worked next to one, and they let you could just, Joe, they told me, you know, you could just go watch court. You know, I'm like, you just walk in and watch? Like, yeah, just be quiet. So I'd go in there and watch court. You know, it wasn't like night court, by the way, you know? But, like, I'd come to find out, like, you know, like, that's why I was very aware of witness recollection. Like, did I really see what I saw?
Yeah.
Like this right here, right? I think missing time could have been sort of interdimensional fuckery. Like, I thought, did I really see all that stuff? But, like, gotta remember, I was not allowed to leave anyone's sight after that. You know, I was in trouble. Like, I can tell you this. Well, I know it wasn't kids fixing up a barn.
Yeah.
You know, there was never any white pants. I don't know. Like, I'm as open to any interpretation of that as you are. It wasn't I hit my head, woke up, and had a weird dream either. You know, like,
yeah.
Weird.
No, and I'm in no way implying that you got this from the Twilight Zone, but there's a Twilight Zone story that it reminds me of, and that's where these kids are swimming down into their pool, and they have these like rich parents that are like divorcing movie stars or something, and they swim up, and when they swim out of the water, they're in a different place, and there's this farmhouse with all these kids, and the kids are like, "Stay here with us. We're gonna be happy." And there's like an old happy
Weird.
like motherly grandmother and stuff. But
Now, I never watched anything that was in black and white when I was a kid. I hated it.
Yeah,
I didn't appreciate black and white until high school.
No, and I don't mean to infer that you got it from there, or
Right.
you dreamed it from there, or anything like that. But just that it's interesting that the human imagination went there, as did an experience that you had, and that's where I always find these kinds of things fascinating, because you know, if you want to look at it from the perspective of like a Jacques Vallée, where the nuts and bolts elements of the phenomena don't seem to apply really necessarily, because there's always the high strangeness aspect, and what you experience is literally the epitome of high strangeness.
Yeah, and there was no naked women with pubic hairs or violent or weird. Was it Nioxus? He got hit with Nioxus.
Yeah,
you know, wouldn't it be great if like we cut to that scene where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon get hit with Dioxus?
Yeah,
and then they wake up and there's like a Rhodian with a giant red pubes, and he's like, "Get him off me! Get him off me!" Qui-Gon's like, "No, I don't think. Better you than me, Obi-Wan."
So Mark Hamilton says, weirdest thing I saw was when I was around 15 to 16 in 1992. me and a friend were walking home. We noticed some shooting star type stuff going on in the sky near the Mourne Mountains in Northern Ireland. Yeah, yeah. That's like. I mean, me and my daughter were walking just a few weeks ago, and we looked up and we see what looks like, I don't know. It was a chrome thing with a very strange shape. And I'm like, is that a bunch of balloons? And we're like, it's not a bunch of balloons. It's too big. It was, there was so many balloons. You could have tied, if it was balloons, you could have tied a Webster to it and he would have flown away. Like that's how many balloons, it would have had to have been to have been balloons. And, but then we just lost sight of it. And like her and we talk about it like every couple of days. She like, it's like, that was so weird, Dad. And I'm like, yes, it was. But I don't know. But I still don't know if what it could have been or if it was even supernatural, so to speak, or whatever. But yeah, weird stuff in the sky, man. Shogun says, what's the aliens' agenda? That's one of those like Dan Aykroyd. I think I heard Dan Aykroyd the other day saying there's like 17 different kinds of aliens. And
I want Dan Aykroyd and John Lear to do an interview together. Just one, because that'll just be the wildest fucking night of conspiracy theories.
Well,
like
have you ever heard about his Men in Black story, the Dan Aykroyd Men in Black story that he had, or his version of it? So he's doing this. What was that show he had? It was like Dan Aykroyd Unplugged, something like that. It was like Dan Aykroyd doing, his UFO show, like in like the early 2000s. And he says that he's like working on the show or something, and he gets a phone call, and it's Britney Spears. So he steps outside because it's Britney, bitch. That's our second Britney of the day. And so he steps outside. Britney Spears is like, hey, I'm hosting SNL. Like, can you coach me? Something like that. And he's like, yeah, of course, Britney. But as he's looking, he sees these black car with these like weird looking dudes, and he can't quite make out the license plate. He like said it was pixelated almost. He's like, it was very strange. And he was like, what the fuck is going on? Then all of a sudden it's just gone. And he was like, that was weird. And then he goes back inside. Oh, your show's been canceled. No explanation. And he never learned why. That's his Men in Black story. When he was doing this UFO show and he has that happen, they come stare him down and then they cancel the show. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff. But anyways,
he was just really high that night.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I don't know. I mean,
he got real high with his beautiful wife Donna Dixon, and they just conjured up the next Ghostbusters and forgot about it because they were too high.
I don't know, but
they were like Vulcanvania too. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think. When I think about like what the agenda could be, I mean, when you look at us, like how can you say what the human agenda is? That's kind of, and they're obviously not human, but how can you say what the dolphin agenda is, or the dog agenda, or the ape agenda? I think if they are conscious beings who are visiting us, and they're not just some kind of AI, one of the lore of the little grays is that they're basically just bio AI, for that they're subservient little beings. And so whatever, and
they don't poop unless they're Kim Jong-un. They're
yeah, but you
don't have little anuses.
But yeah, you would, I think, because like when you hear about people's abduction stories, you'll hear like someone who's just like, they took me aboard their ship. We ate dinner. They told me great stories of the universe. It was the best night I ever had. And I can't wait to be picked up again. Every day I am waiting for it. And then the other people are like, don't ever take me again, and they were treated like pigs, they were treated like livestock. So clearly though, right there, you have two wildly different agendas, and maybe they're like us. Maybe some are assholes and some aren't, or I don't know. Nobody knows really.
Some are quite bohemian.
Yeah.
And thorough.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down to go hang out with the one with the red pubes and make some space.
You gotta get a little radiation sickness, but it's worth it.
Oh, it's totally worth it. I mean, did he have to pay for that kid for the rest of his? No, he didn't. Unless they took the tractor as payment, in which case it might have
There
been
is no Dana. There's only Brazil. What? Shit.
might be some kind of hillbilly aliens, and they took the tractor. But Mark Allen says both of us saw it and went well. It went well. That was weird. Oh wait. Oh sorry. Did I? One of these lights shot across the sky on a straight line about 10 to 15 miles away. It then suddenly stopped and vertically dropped towards what would have been the area of the mountains. Both of us saw it. And I thought, well, that was weird. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah, they're suddenly stopping.
Yeah, pretty weird. In the first story though, that the aliens lube him up, gas him, and he still gets radiation poisoning though. I mean,
look, he was just at a real wild sex house, and he had to conjure something up to explain to the wife why he had glitter all over him. Like when you go to the strip club, you got that smell on you. You got the glitter. It's hard to hide it.
Yeah. D'Angelo says Rob's story is pretty wild. Did you ever go back to the farmhouse after the incident? Could it still be there?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. They had Rob watch. Don't let Rob out of your sight because that little kid will fucking disappear. Remember at the time my mom was in a custody battle with the rights to my half brother, and I think they were, if Rob takes off or disappears, that's going to make the custody battle go 10 times bad for my mom. But a month or two later, when they stopped paying attention to me because, humans are lazy, I went back and to go see what they were doing, like hang out with those kids. I figured maybe those are new friends because I didn't have friends. And that place was, it hadn't been touched in 100 years. Like it was a decrepit, old, abandoned, dirty farmhouse with just, that was a part that really got me when I was like, it looked dangerous to touch everything, like rusted nails. And, I was like, what is this? It just confused the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I was in the second grade. How are you supposed to define those terms to anybody, And so, but it stuck with me. I thought about it quite often.
Sure. Yeah. As I was thinking about this the other day because I was like pretty, for a long time, I've never been anti aliens exist, but I was pretty burnt out on TV shows that come on, and just try to sell like a bill of goods that don't ask any difficult questions of the sources to get a story. They don't care if the story is real. They just want to get a story to put on TV. And
I believe everything.
Yeah, there's like no scrutiny at all. So like I just kind of got like, fuck all this shit. You know what I mean? It's all like kind of dumb. And when it comes to the ghosts and stuff like that, it's even worse. But the more I think about my grandparents' house as a kid, boy, was it some weird stuff. I don't know if as a child I suffered from some sort of like oral hallucinations as my brain was growing or something like that, which is completely possible. It's actually pretty normal when children are growing and stuff like that. But man, I'd hear little whispers and stuff. And if you're gonna get like schizophrenia, it comes on when you're like a teenager. This is when I'm like probably 4 years old to when I'm about 10 years old. And you would just hear like little whispers and you'd be like, what was that? You know what I mean? I thought I heard something, or I thought my grandmother just said something behind me right now. And like looking at it now, if those things happened to me, I'd be like, call the fucking ghost hunters. This place is fucking haunted. Let's get the cameras. We're ghost busting. You know what I mean? But back then I was just like, I must have imagined.
Well, I was against aliens after that. I never once at that time was like, those were aliens. I didn't know what that was. But I remember going, nah, man, aliens. I had this thing in my head. Even when I watched the Bob Lazar shit in '89, I was fascinated by his story. But I would still go, aliens aren't real. Like, I had this, it was like almost like an automatic response. I just felt that way for whatever reason. until I watched the Phoenix Lights happen live in March of '97. You know, and I was like, when I saw it, that's where I was like, when people see UFOs, like real UAP like phenomena, there is an experience you have that isn't like anything else that you see. There is a different, and what I saw to me was an emotional reaction, like, this is not good. You know what I mean? This is not. It's not like when I see half these pictures, I'm like, I don't know. But that shit, you know, no different than when I saw my little light story. You know,
Yeah.
it's different. It sticks with you. You know, so yeah, now I definitely believe there's something. I don't know if what I saw has any connection to that. For all I know, man, I mean, there's a probability that it's a parallel synchronicity moment to something that existed 100 years before, kind of, you know, like it's always a Stephen King moment, or fucking for all I know, I hallucinated. I ate a space lizard and I forgot about it. Fucking, I
Yeah.
don't know, but I don't know, man. Like it was too tactile for it to be a dream, you know. Like I'd felt. I know it. A year later, I had an experience at a playground where I brought my Superman cape to school. I thought it'd be fun to run around like Superman, right? And I wasn't. I was flying, like running, right, full speed like an idiot. And I looked over and was like, yeah. And when I came back, I hit a volleyball net and fell back and knocked myself out. It's the only time I've ever knocked myself unconscious. Because
Yeah.
when I woke up, I was in the nurse's office. So I know what that's like, even at that age.
Yeah.
That wasn't it. You know? It's not even remotely like that. So,
Right. And it wasn't a hot day. Dehydration may not have been at play.
God, no, man. No. It's fucking normal.
Yeah.
Wasn't hungry or thirsty or, I mean, I was eating a lot of oranges at the time. We had an orange tree. I was always full. Fucking loved oranges, man. I don't know why. I was just like, fucking love them. I was always eating them. Like, she would be in her room making out with her boyfriend, and they'd look out the window, and I'd be sitting there with an orange.
Eating oranges.
He's good. Remember, they were like, close the drapes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that show's over.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's like I find like, you know, all of it is just like fascinating. Like when it comes to like CE5, and you get down to people who are like, yeah, like are seeing things, who are doing it. And it's like, are they seeing things, or are they hypnotizing themselves through meditation into seeing things? That's the kind of shit that you go and you think you're like, oh yeah, you're seeing something. And then obviously there's people with who have pictures and stuff like that. But when you look at some of the photos and stuff like that, they are clearly flares, and those people are being grifted out of money. That is a thing that's definitely happening for sure, because it's lucrative to take people for money. But yeah, but I do think that shit's fascinating. I think people definitely shouldn't pay anything for it. You don't need to pay anything to meditate. You can just do the research and meditate. you don't have to give anybody money for an app or take guided meditations or any of that to do it. And which is what that guy was basically saying in that story. But yeah, the more I study this shit, the more I'm just like, yeah, there's definitely something about humans, that about ourselves and consciousness, that we just fundamentally don't understand. And that's why we can't figure out what this shit is, because like, you know, all of this stuff could just be some other consciousness. And when we're coming into contact with it, it shows itself in bizarre ways to us, which is why.
Well, our brains are interpreting waveforms at all time, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the basic idea. Like what we consider reality is just the way our mind's interpreting waves.
Yeah.
And so, like, what isn't it interpreting? What is it omitting in that data crunch, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, when Disney Plus claims to give you a 4K image and you're getting compression artifacts in the black, you're like, no, I'm not. Something's getting dropped out of this fucking signal.
Really?
Apparently, the universe runs on only like 5G, you know, 6G. Like, it hasn't upgraded yet to like 8G. You know, it's a little behind.
I wanted to bring up some more UFO videos in this episode, but we'll save it for next time. But this is the one that I thought was just kind of fun from 2 days
I
ago.
love the videos.
Right?
Are they running
Videos,
away from an attack ship? Oh, that's my favorite ones when they're right on their asses. Let's see.
yeah, this one right here, I don't think it's necessarily amazing because whatever it is, you could fake it if you wanted to, but let's just pretend that they're not, and this is a real thing that's happening here. It's like,
Or some guy
well,
attached 700 drones to a washing machine and decided to ride it across the fucking page.
yeah, well,
Well, it's
people,
fading in and out right there, right? That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's what it looks like to me, and then that's where I found it interesting because at first I was like, what if there's a boat we can't see for whatever reason,
But
and
then you'd see wake in the water.
you would think so, but I'm just, yeah, just trying to. I can't even see it now. I'm like losing it now.
I
But
wish there was a thermal image of this. Like the one thing that I can do is look at thermal images because of my
yeah,
time on tanks. All we did was look at a thermal imager. That's all you do in a gunnery's chair is to. Yeah, see, there's no wake.
no, there isn't, and I'm like, and you would think you should be able, but I mean, and the click right here, it kind of starts to like sort of fade out, bleeps out. Now it's just gone, and that's just bizarre.
Hmm.
Pretty fun, but yeah, I like I said, I didn't think
Wish
it
we
was
could
like,
stabilize that somehow.
yeah.
We
I
had
bet you
one
somebody
of
has
those
done it.
things.
I bet you somebody has done it now, but I haven't looked at it though. But trying to I wanted to pull up a couple more. Oh, this right here was kind of fascinating, but I have to say, um, the quote UFO, the drone that films the UFO come at the camera. I don't really buy it personally. I've never been
Hey
convinced
guys, so
that it's
I haven't
legit.
seen this video.
Oh, you never seen the video? Okay.
I don't look up anything until we do a show. Like I don't,
Yeah.
like I don't see any. Only time I listen to Coast is when George Knapp is on.
Right.
So I'm not aware of this one.
All right,
Moderately wooded, like me.
yeah. So basically, like they're like, see right here, you could there's a bird. There it goes. That's a
Okay,
bird.
that's fake.
Yeah. This one goes like all around. People take it very, very seriously. But well, here's the thing though, is I'm not even necessarily convinced that it's fake because I've seen people who have filmed things on drones, like where birds do come at the camera and how it interprets it. And I've seen flocks
Okay,
of birds that come up just like that in
yeah.
weird ways. This video was made to like really prove that, oh, it's not that it's this interesting thing. But I don't really buy it.
Looks like
I think
bird
it's
wings flapping to me.
at
Like,
first
the
it
way
does.
I told you, what I do,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Strange
looks
though,
like a
right?
bird. What I do, man, is I don't look at like this is I've explained to you before, an art trick. Whenever you're doing plein air painting or drawing out in the, like, let's say I wanted to draw this diner here, right? It's got a lot of detail, right? Let's say you only have a minute or 5 minutes to draw it. How do you get all that shit down, right? The trick is you always take your eyes and you squint them till just about your hairs meet. And what that will do is compress all the data down into real, like, observable shapes. And
Right.
and so you can get that down. Whatever that is, that's what you draw. So when I see this stuff, I'm squinting down to catch the actual, like, to remove all the artifacting and the interpretation to get your mind to recognize, like, instinctively, because we have a lot of built-in, natural data, whatever instincts, whatever the fuck we got in our head that we know. We know what shit is when we see it. Like, and that looks like a bird, and then it's just coming by. If it's real, that's what it is. I don't see any like real motion blur, which is why at first I thought I saw that. That's when I had to do the squint thing. I'm like, it's probably a bird.
Yeah, that one you will see like popping up on YouTube all the time because it's fun footage. Now this one I thought was pretty fun, and this will be like our last one of the night. UFO stuns alien experts as it hangs above city in broad daylight. And I think this was Islamabad, I think. If this is the right one.
Okay.
But yeah, right here you can see it. It kind of looks like a strange little top hat.
Wow, looks like
kind of
Flight of the
thing.
Navigator.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Right?
A
Dude,
mysterious
look, that fucking ship. The idea of using shells is so fucking unique, right? No one has conjured up a ship like Flight of the Navigator that I gotta wonder, man, like, you know what I mean? What if fucking the out of all the UFOs we've ever gotten, Flight of the Navigator turns out to be the one that's most fucking likely to be real. it changes shape, it's metallic, it has no openings, no seams. You know what I mean? Like
it's an AI.
yeah, like
You know?
I think Flight of the Navigator. I mean, other than NASA's holding doing brain scans and shit, NASA doesn't even have cybersecurity. So you know,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
the object was seen lurking over Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, and was visible for nearly 2 hours, according to one eyewitness. Arslan Waresh, 33, said, "I still don't know what it was. I filmed it for over 12 minutes at different times, took dozens of pictures and observed it for the best part of 2 hours. To the naked eye, it seemed like a black round rock, but as I zoomed in, I could see it was roughly the shape of a triangle with a clear bulge on the top towards the back. It was solid black and had no sharp edges. It wasn't reflecting too much light, and no lights were emanating from it. In the footage, the shape can be seen hanging without moving over Islamabad's DHA1 district." There it is. Right here's the photo.
has Chris Leto done that like distancing thing he can do with his like weird iron
I
needle
hope he
math and
does.
shit? Like,
This one just
Yeah.
happened. So I'm
Okay.
hoping he's aware of it and doing it. Yeah, because I love watching.
If you guys
his-
aren't following Chris Leto, man,
the best.
Lehto, he's the best. Like Jason
Yeah.
showed him to me, and at first I was like, I don't know, man. After watching him, like this fucking dude is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really is. Super
Uh,
good.
A fly and several birds also fly across and into the shot, showing the clear difference between them and the distant UFO. Where
Yeah.
it said, "I don't know what it was, but I know it wasn't a bird. I actually got birds in the clip while I was filming the thing. I fly drones myself, so I know it wasn't a commercial drone either." And here's another photo.
Yeah, look at that.
And,
That's weird.
I actually had the I guess I lost it. I had the YouTube video of this one up earlier, but basically, I'll be honest with you. You could watch the video. It's really small in the video and far away, but this is a really good capture of it right here. So yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
you
look
just,
at that.
just
Almost looks like Zuckus.
yeah. Like,
That's where he was. He wasn't in the book of Boba. He's just Zuckus's head can detach and fly around.
It almost looks like a guitar pick with like a dome on it or something too.
It looks 3-dimensional though. That's what's cool about
Mhm.
it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you can see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. With
See,
the number,
generally, like when fans conjure shit up, it falls in usually one of like 2 or 3 categories. So, one, it looks like the Billy Meyer 50s, Lost in Space shit.
yeah.
Or it looks like something out of Halo, or like remember that Battle for LA movie, that lame fucking thing. Looks like something out of that.
Yeah.
Looks really art stationy is the way I put it. And then, or the third thing is it'll just look like lights in the sky. It won't get too detailed. That takes a unique vision. That one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a few like that recently where people just see this and once again, very well could be some sort of spy. Like I don't ever jump right to it being from another planet.
Right.
It could be some kind of spy drone that we have no idea what it is. Like when we have
Some
them,
kind of antenna, or you know what I mean, like to put it up to transmit a signal around something. The
Yeah.
problem though with it being so low in the atmosphere for it's
Yeah.
commercial airplanes and shit. Like that's generally they would put something like that way higher up than the atmosphere.
Oh yeah,
Wherever that
no.
is, you know.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that if you see one of these things and you cannot identify it, it's at the very least some sort of weird spy stuff going on. You know what I mean?
Even if it's military, like say we needed something to do a secret thing with this tech, you would never want it to be like, well, but it has to sit like 5,000 feet.
Yeah.
You know, where someone with a rocket launcher could fucking take it down. You know, like, generally, they want to develop things that can't be seen by the naked eye, so you don't know. You know, otherwise they don't want to know what. I mean, shit's expensive. Like,
Yeah.
they don't want to get their shit blown up. So,
Yeah.
there is a thought process behind this.
It definitely but like there was a few more, and I actually want to do a whole show eventually on where we just look at all of these ones of weird things stationary in the sky that, you know, obviously not those dumb
I
TikToks.
love that where you just show me
Bird.
shit and, you know, we go bullshit or not. Like that's the funnest.
Yeah.
For me. Maybe some people don't like it. They're like, it doesn't make for good audio. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Watch the show.
Yeah. Well, on
it's UFOs, man.
On this one, it's kind of a video based one for the most part. But once again, you also get the story. So that's why I tried to put the story up front. But yeah, I definitely want to.
Gary McKinnon was the proto Snowden for some people.
Yeah.
You know, that was a whole. This kid hacked the Pentagon, and first they said Pentagon, but it turned out NASA. It was actually NASA, and then he got these UFO images, and they're trying to extradite him, and the government, you know, Linda Moulton Howe reported on it, and then you were always wondering, but did he actually get stuff out, and he's hiding it, and it just turned out like, no. I saw some nifty ASCII porn, you know, but he did. You know, I wish though the description of the ship he had given out in 2002, because like if they had, I don't know, like, I just wish there was a way to get that out before the Tic Tac videos and the discussion came out.
Yeah, I don't know if he didn't though. For the record, I don't want.
I'm gonna go. I have a Coast to Coast. Like I bought it for a year, you know, and I forget about it just to listen to code. I never listen to it. I'll see if I can do a Gary McKinnon search and see if that comes up somewhere. Yeah. You know, yeah, I'll look in the archive, see if that pops up somewhere. Because I know someone wrote it down, but I'd rather hear if I can hear the topics from 2002. I don't want to read shit. You know what I mean? I want to hear. I'll see if I can. I'll look.
He's the reason. While I'm super excited about the James Webb telescope, but he's the reason why I'm like, yeah, I really hope James Webb Telescope is our introduction into things that have been hidden from us. But I'm also like the Avi Loeb's project where they're setting up these telescopes to take pictures of UFOs at universities, you know, around the country. I think is how they're doing it. But that's where I'm like, yeah, we have to do it ourselves. Or, you know what I mean? Like it has to, unfortunately it has to come from private interest because it doesn't, and with disclosure being the interest of the private company, because like the thing about Men in Black stories, if you believe Elizondo, if you don't think Elizondo is part of some kind of false flag operation kind of thing too, if you're not going down that rabbit hole and think Elizondo is just truly trying to do the right thing for humanity, he's pretty much said that the Men in Black have been, dudes from aerospace. They're private corporations that are trying to protect their interests on and acting on behalf of the government, but they're not a real government agency. They've always been people from, I guess you could probably assume, Lockheed Martin and so on, and those types for the most part. And the more you think about it, that makes a lot more sense than having a secret governmental organization that is subject to FOIA and government, you know, kind of not necessarily being the most efficient. And but when you have people that are trying to protect their own shit for their own money and stuff like that, and it kind of makes a lot of sense. And it makes me wonder if back in the 60s when you had those really weird ones, like you know that there's that one Men in Black story where he's like, hold out your hand, and the guy and he holds it out, and he's like, what's in your pocket? There's a coin. I know there's a coin. And then I think out the coin. I'll put it in your hand, and then the coin disappears. And then he goes and he looks at him, and then he's like, have you heard of what was his name? Barney Hill. So have you heard of him? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, he died because I took his heart or something like that. Like they made, but where I'm going with this is if we want to pretend that, or if we want to give the story the benefit of the doubt, what if these men in black were just these dudes from like Lockheed Martin style corporations going in there and giving them fucking LSD, spraying them, you know what I mean? Because like when the government was messing around with LSD aerosols, they supposedly like released that shit in San Francisco, all kinds of weird stuff. Like if this is like official, like this.
Joe Rogan's gonna get some of that. He's got it. He's got the last case. You know, it's crazy. He's just gonna take aerosol. It's aerosol LSD, man. It's amazing. You're gonna see all sorts. You're gonna have a deep human connection to like.
So you're saying he's gonna throw the kitchen sink at us, is what you're saying. Yeah, no, but I mean, but when you do, when you do have, this is like before psychedelics were truly like, the revolution of the 60s hadn't happened, and they're experimenting with it and shit like that. I wonder if some of these companies came in and just like literally gave these people these things and then interrogated them while they were on LSD and were able to really plant these wild stories that also work to discredit them at the same time. It's the most logical kind of almost conclusion that you could make if you just don't write the person off as being a crazy person. You know what I'm saying? Like they may have had this UFO experience. They may have seen these things, and then these companies come in, interrogate them, give them psychedelics.
I wonder. I mean, had I told that story, I mean, I had a counselor is what they called it. You know, like at that time, if you were in any divorced family, you had to go to this counselors.
Yeah,
divorced kids.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, we had that, but I was like, I wonder if I had mentioned this shit to them, what would have happened?
Yeah,
I was smart. I kept my mouth shut around adults. I was like, I'm not telling them anything about my feelings.
Yeah,
they'd always have toys. Like, hold on, they'd always have toys. Like, they tried to trick me with this one. I remember this one was great. They had this room full of like Voltron toys and Millennium Falcons, and they were like, if you play with the toys, then they would talk to you and you would emote. And I would just conjure up stories. They'd get nothing out of me, bro. Yeah. I was like, here's my Star Wars sequel, but Voltron comes in, and he's they were getting theater. Ain't nothing cutting out of it. Yeah, I wouldn't give up shit because they'll put you in a home.
Yeah. No, we had a girl with schizophrenia, and I won't tell her stories or anything like that on here, but it was very clear that she was mentally ill for a very long time, and there was a lot of, she just has a really great imagination, and it was like, looking back on it, I'm like, there was a lot of denial going on. So you may have been like, yeah, I was taken aboard the mothership, man, and blah blah blah. And they might have been like, Rob and that imagination of his, Back then, there was a lot of.
I'll tell you what scared me when I eventually saw Return to Oz. I'm like, they'll electrocute you if you tell them stories.
Yeah,
I think that's probably why I kept my mouth shut. I saw Return to Oz. It was like, never tell them anything.
Don't trust grown-ups.
What a fucking dark premise, that film.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I think we'll do one of these again really, really soon. I know you won't be able to be on camera again pretty soon, but I think we'll be able to get around that when you're free. Well, maybe that's bad for you. I don't know. Maybe you can't draw and watch UFO videos, but I'm gonna start collecting.
I've thought about that.
Yeah.
So like, what I think we can do is I normally stop an hour or half hour. So if we do it like 30 minutes ago, I could do like an hour and then bail out the show, go to bed.
Okay, cool.
Like that's how I can do it. Even if we wanted to do a live, anything on camera or anything to look, that's how I could do it, is just skip that period.
Yeah.
Because I normally just watch TV with the wife, but believe me, some nights she's just like, don't you have a podcast or a UFO shit? I'm like, no, you're stuck with me. Yeah, my little dog's like, that's right.
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah, but I what I need to stop doing is showing you things throughout the week and just putting it into my notepad, and then we'll come here and I'll show it all to you at once.
But you would have forgot about the Tic Tac image.
That's true. Well, actually,
forgot about the McKinnon.
But I sent it to you. and if I don't send it to you and I put it into the document, then
Oh, okay. Yeah, do
but
that. Yeah, don't
yeah.
show me things. We can get my initial reaction.
Right. And with now that we're back on the old StreamYard, they've added the ability to use slides. I've noticed using the Google Drive. So I'm gonna experiment with that and see if we can take the show up into not only 1080p, but where I'm not just fumbling around like an idiot the whole time. But no promises.
Norway's like, we banned slides, and then they're fucking adding them to everything now. Like, what are you doing? PowerPoint, right? PowerPoint, the
Real
bane of
and
all meetings.
The electric slide's still real to me. But
It's
anyways,
the only dance I know.
They
taught it to me in 7th grade PE, and at every wedding I come out a champ, bro. People are like, "What?" The one time I got rhythm is the electric slide. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, thanks to all 6 of you who hung out with us today and to talk about UFOs at this weird time and everything. But appreciate it. And we will be back on Monday talking about Star Wars like usual and all that jazz.
Galactic Star Cruiser. Can't wait.
There's a video of them doing bingo. We'll talk about it on Monday. But
yeah.
I'm not going to play any end credits on this one. We're just going to end it. But say goodnight, Rob.